Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about the 2 non-negotiables of grip pressure. All right guys, Eric here, back out at the Bethlehem Golf Club. I want to talk to you today about the 2 non-negotiables, in my opinion, of grip pressure. Before we dive into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about live view. You guys hear me in all the videos preach the need for feedback. The only way to really know if you're making progress with your swing changes, progress with your game, is to be able to see yourself doing that. Of course, you can do that through a phone, but what's even better than that is being able to see yourself simultaneously as you do that, and how you do that is with a live view. You can set the live view up behind you, in front of you, see yourself from different angles, and actually watch yourself as you're hitting. It is the best form of feedback that I've found. I would highly recommend it for yourself if you're serious about making swing changes and improving your golf game. We'll include the link in the description down below. Now, grip pressure. People ask me about grip pressure all the time, and the main thing that people ask about grip pressure is, what should my grip pressure be? And of course, we would typically use a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being very light grip pressure, 10 being very tight grip pressure. And most of you probably heard the things in old golf books about holding a bird or kind of squeezing a tube of toothpaste. And whether those be true or not, I think there's a couple things about grip pressure that are constant. Sort of 3 things I want to talk about. 2 of them are non-negotiables for you to take from this. Number 1 is there is no such thing as a perfect grip pressure. I've taught a lot of golf lessons in the past decade or so, and have spoken with a lot of players and have played fairly well myself, and there's never been a constant where they all said, hey Eric, I have a 4 out of 10 grip pressure, or I've got a 7 out of 10, or every one of them says I grip it really light, or other ones say, hey, we all grip it really tight. No, I've seen some good players who grip the club very, very light. They might be like a 2 out of 10, where they're kind of hardly holding on. Like think of kind of a Fred Couples, feels like he's never holding on to the club. And I've talked to other people who say that they grip the club really, really tight, and both of them win PGA Tour events or play and shoot under par. So there's no such thing as correct here, okay? But with that said, while I wouldn't recommend either super tight or super loose, I think somewhere in the middle ground is probably the best case scenario. There are 2 things that I want you to take along with that. Number 1 is, regardless of your grip pressure, right? And the tighter that you go with your actual hands on the club, what's key is that your arms are not tight. So the distinction that I want you to make is between your hand pressure and how loose your arms are. So the players that I have spoken with this, because I don't have any way to measure grip pressure, right? I can't throw my TrackMan up and say, hey, your path is 3 to the right, your grip pressure is 7 out of 10. That doesn't exist, so it's all just by feel really at this point. And so players who grip the club tighter, which I would be one of them, I have a tighter grip, have loose arms. So if you just held a club in your hands, I could grip the club fairly tight with my hands and still have loose arms. Where players get into trouble with a tight grip is when they have tight everything, meaning tight grip, tight arms, very locked arms and tense arms at address. That's where that creates problems with tension and movement patterns later on. But even if you have a super tight grip, that's okay. You need to be able to, it's like I'm holding on to the club fairly tight here, and I just need to be able to have my arms loose. So I can hit shots with a tight grip, and I just want to make sure that my arms are loose. Even if I'm gripping it fairly tight, that's okay, and that shouldn't really cause me problems, right? So number 1, there's no perfect, okay? I'd say somewhere in the middle is probably good. Number 2 is, regardless of what you do with your arms and hands, you should be light and loose with your arms. And the same thing's true if I have a loose grip pressure. If you're more Freddie Couples, and I'm barely holding on to it, I'm still gonna be fairly loose with my arms here when I hit, and I'm gonna look more kind of relaxed as I go. And find what works for you, right? Let's use some common sense here. If you put your grip pressure real light and your arms are loose and you hit the ball really well, then that's great. And then if you put it on firmer and that works good, that's great too. Don't not do it because you think it's incorrect, right? So whatever works best. So that's kind of key principle number 1. Whatever you do with your hands, the arms need to be loose either way. The second part, and I don't hear this talked about a ton on here, is I want the grip pressure to feel as though it remains constant. Meaning, when I take my address position, let's in a fantasy world pretend my grip pressure we've determined is 5 out of 10. I'm 5 out of 10 at address. I want it to be 5 out of 10 during my takeaway, 5 out of 10 halfway back, 5 out of 10 at the top, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10. What I think normally happens is players start 5 out of 10, and then they do their takeaway, and then they're 10 out of 10. So I see a lot of players who are loose-ish, and then they grip it really tight as they go back. I think it's a very common thing. What you want to do is whatever you set at address, maintain that grip pressure on the way back and through. So if you're going to do this, you take your normal setup, kind of waggle it around, make sure your arms are loose. And as you go in transition, whatever pressure you feel in the butt of the club, you got to be very highly aware and think about this and feel how your hands are on the club. You want to keep that same grip pressure in the initial backswing and downswing. So I'm not adding tension or pressure in my hands throughout the swing at all. I find myself and I find other players really during the takeaway are loose, and then you go and then you grip, and that can cause some movement patterns. So same thing, normal setup, feel what's right for you, about a 5 out of 10. Arms are loose, and I'm keeping that same grip pressure during my takeaway and during my downswing. So it remains, I just so happen to hit those better, it remains good the whole way. At the end of the day, test it. This is one of the very few things that you can't give yourself immediate feedback on. You have to kind of go through trial and error with results of the golf ball. Very few things are like that, but this is one of those with grip pressure. So hands, wherever they are, arms stay loose, keep it constant throughout. There is no correct. Probably find a middle ground, short and sweet grip pressure. Hope that helps. You guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, please do us a favor, click the like button down below. Click the notification bell. Also, please subscribe if you haven't. Also, another reminder, every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're here live on YouTube. We'd love to see you guys there.